What's up, YouTube? Go collaboration right there. Those who know. All right, so I got a lot to catch up on, man. Haven't been posting, probably haven't posted in about 2 or 3 days. Not what I want, but listen, life be life, and outside of this YouTube thing, I run my own business. So certain times of the year, when the money's out there, I got to get after it. And I got to get after it real hard. You know what I mean? So, unfortunate, I noticed a couple people drop off, the subs go down a little bit, you ain't active and all of that. And listen, I apologize for it, but bro, listen, this ain't where my money is. I do this for the love of it, and I appreciate everybody who comes through and likes to hear me run my mouth about sports, but it is what it is, man. A lot going on. All right, so I'm going to start with Chicago Sky, Angel Reese situation. All right, so it appears Angel Reese sat out the next game against the Aces. So you had the first game where they suspended her for their own little petty reasons. My last video, we dealt with the actual sentencing, if you will, right? So she decided to go, all right, listen, my back been giving me problems, which is something she's kind of been dealing with for about a little bit over a month now that we know about, right? She missed time earlier. So, listen, hey, my back messed up. I ain't gonna play because with y'all, the way y'all play is the way we playing. How is this gonna end up? I don't know. To me, I'm thinking it probably ain't good. Here's my whole scenario on the way the season went, if you're unaware. Listen, the Chicago Sky and the WNBA this year entered into what I would consider like a new phase in terms of notoriety, or should I say attention, okay? You got to understand, 2 years ago, 2023, nationally televised games, all total for WNBA, 24 games, right? I'm talking business right now. We're not talking who's the best player, who's the best, who should watch it. We're not talking that. We're talking business. All right, so you had 24 games that were nationally televised. Or, 24, 25, one or the other, right? I looked it up a couple weeks ago. My memory, This year, okay? This year alone, okay? Just so you understand what this year was. The Chicago Sky, just the Chicago Sky, okay, had 25 nationally televised games this year. 25. 2 years ago, the whole league, talking about all the games, the whole league, 24. This year, Chicago Sky, 25. All right? And the Chicago Sky didn't have the most. The most went to the Indiana Fever, who I believe had somewhere up to 41, 42, maybe. Something like that. Out of their 44 games, about 41 or 42 of their games were all nationally televised. All right. This was followed by New York Liberty, then followed by the Aces, I believe, and then Chicago Sky. Okay. This is what you got to understand. Chicago Sky, as an organization, is bottom feeder organization. Right. Some of these Chicago Sky fans who want to take up for the organization want to sit up here and talk about a 2021, championship, But the reality is that's the only championship out of all the years that the league has been there. They're bottom feeders. Players don't want to come there. These things are well known. I don't have to sit there and go through that. If you're following the WNBA in any type of capacity, even in the minimal capacity, right? So why would a bottom feeder organization like the Chicago Sky be given the fourth most televised games in the whole league over teams like the Phoenix Mercury, who have been a winning organization over the last 20 years with Diana Taurasi, over the Minnesota Lynx, which has had dynasties under the great Maya Moore and Simone Augustus and them, who I'm going to talk about in a minute, over teams like the Seattle Storm, who's had winning over the last 10 so years. They were winners. right? Why would the Chicago Sky have more nationally televised games? It's because of one reason, all right? And that is for Angelica Reese, okay? I don't know if her name is Angelica, but because of Angel Reese, okay? A girl from the DMV, all right, who was out here just balling, businesswoman, popular, the whole nine. That's the reason. There's no other reason. They haven't done shit. Now, their staff, ownership on down, I'm going to include the owner as well, and as well as the GM. They dropped the ball this year. They dropped the ball. They missed the assignment and dropped the ball. This was an opportunity for them to really promote the league and not only their team, right? When you get these nationally televised games and stuff like that, guess what? You're supposed to make the playoffs. That's what you're supposed to do. Right now, the reason the Chicago Sky has any fan base outside of, I don't know, just the 200 damn people just from Chicago who will follow them anyway, or 2,000, I don't know, or whatever it was, okay? It's because of Angel Reese, and then of course the rivalry with the Indiana Fever, okay? And I know I differ with a lot of people. People say it's not a rivalry, it's not this, and even professionals are saying that, and I don't understand their thinking, right? It's a rivalry because when these two teams play together, more people watch that than anything else. That's why it's a rivalry. The people are going to dictate that, right? Not the players, not what positions they play, none of that. No. The number of eyes on it makes it a rivalry, makes it an event. Which brings me to the point that I'm getting at. They dropped the ball. When you have eyes on you, okay? It's like, as Eminem said in his song, Move Yourself, right? Right, you got one shot. Can't miss your chance to blow. And that's what they did. Not Angel Reese, she delivered this year. Improved pretty much in every stat from her rookie year. And in the main thing is the field goal percentage. She improved. Camila Cardoso delivered to the degree that she could deliver. Who messed up in is that damn GM who went up there and surrounded them with bums. All right? I'm just going to straight put it like that. But with the exception of Ariel Atkins. The rest of those players, man, whatever. Right? Not in this league. I don't know what made him think in this league that team would do anything. Not in this league, man. And that's what he did. That's his fault. And as we know, Angel Reese is unhappy with it, as she should be. Right? You got to understand, Angel Reese is a brand. Just like all players should be brands, right? Most of them aren't, but Angel Reese is a brand. And most other players, they're going to be looking to her to see how it's done, okay? She built her branding from college. You could look up it's a whole documentary on what happened at LSU and all of that with her, Jaden Daniels, Flaugier, the girl who plays gymnastics, right? About how, you know, the money game and the NILs and all of this type of stuff has changed the whole landscape of college. And one of the greatest players to capitalize on that was Angel Reese, right? She about business, right? So her brand is a big brand, right? This is why she has more followers on social media than others, all of these different types of things. This is why she's invited to Met Galas, and this is why she's on the cover of Reese's and all of these things, okay? She's a brand. Now, what can hurt a brand, especially if you're a sport? If you're a sport, you're an athlete. That's losing. Losing games all the time, being associated with losing, okay? That is what can hurt your brand. And that's what happened this year. Not to any fault of her own, but the fault of the organization. So she has every reason to, like, remove emotions aside and be real with them. Be like, listen, this is what we need to do. Okay? Now, instead of them just ignoring it and treating it like it's nothing, right, being the bigger organization or just dealing with it in-house or whatever, no, they decide to try to prove somehow to everyone, right, that we are in control of this organization. We have control of it. Now, what I'm trying to figure out is why. Are they doing that for fans? Are they doing that out of ego? Or are they doing that out of an attempt to try to please certain players that they might have, like maybe a Courtney Vandersloot, for example, who may be a Chicago legend, right, in the WNBA. Not known pretty much outside of it, not cared about. Primarily for me, I am a person who respects the past of the game and all of that, but to me, she's not a great player right now. She's 37, 38, 47, whatever the hell she is, right? So at this point, why would you be taking her feelings, if this is what they're doing, into consideration? Why is she part of the future, right? So what I'm hearing is they're thinking about bringing her back next year and all these types of things. Yeah. Angel Reese needs to keep doing what she's doing. So it looks like she sat out the next game. Good for her. Play hardball with them. You ain't got to relent to them. They're nobodies. All of these idiots out here who think that she'll be out of the league, none of that shit's going to happen. Why? Because the Chicago Sky, because number one, Angel Reese is a great player. Number one, who will help any team that she's on. Okay? Young, right? Brings eyes, viewership. Okay? Is beloved by players around the league as well, okay? Because she's one of those, she's just cool, right? Certain people, y'all gotta understand, are like cool. Like a lot of y'all out there, especially fans of a particular player who plays in Indiana, y'all think players jealous, want to hurt her, want to do this, want to do that, right? When, like, I could tell a lot of y'all, like when y'all were growing up and stuff like that, y'all must have been like similar to that, right? Like, you ever know, like, when you go to high school or even grade school, okay? Certain people blend right in where they at in the environments. They know how to put up such and such. Next thing you know, they exchanging numbers, people crowding around them, right? That's Angel Reese. She's that person. She's the cool kid in the classroom, okay? This other person y'all talking about isn't that. That's why, introverted. I'm just that. I'm this. You might have one or two little friends. Okay. Another example is Paige Beckers. Paige Beckers is just cool, right? That's why she can go mess around with Kelsey Plum, do all of that, because she's cool, right? And you should understand the difference. All right, but what ain't cool is the Chicago Sky, what they're doing and what their plans are. So Angel Reese, I'm all in support for what she does. And in the coming videos, I want to talk about possible destinations for her. Because one place I would love to see her go, for sure is Dallas. I would love to see her in Dallas, even though I can't stand that city's football team. But I would love to see her there, really to team up with the Paige Beckers, because you got to think about branding as well. Despite how you feel, despite whether you like it or not, okay, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark will always be tied at the hip. Whether you think it's legit or not, you can just have your opinion. It doesn't matter. The ratings tell you otherwise. All right, they'll always be attached at the hip. Another thing, too, Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers will always be compared to each other because now they play the same position and so on, right? Okay, so also, for those who are real women's basketball fans who watch college basketball, they know the rivalries that took place between Angel Reese and Aaliyah Boston, LSU, South Carolina, right? You also have that dynamic. So the perfect thing, if I'm the league, what I want is Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston versus Paige Beckers, Angel Reese. That's what I want. If I'm Kathy and if I'm the league. Because the Chicago thing is dead. Get her up out of there for the betterment of the league. Just get her out of there. Give Chicago, a high pick. Give them a number one or a number two. Have them win a lottery or something like that. So they can fuck up somebody else. Hopefully they won't get Juju to fuck that up for her as well. And I'm sorry, Chicago Sky fans, if this bothers any of y'all. I'm just being real. It's a bad organization. All of this defending them, I don't get it. You must be just a company man at your job. For if you have that mindset, I don't get it. Okay, I can't relate to the company, man. I can only relate to the bosses, and I can relate to employees who understand their worth versus employers, right? So it's a working formula. It's a working thing. Like, you need me to go out in the field and be excellent to do what I'm doing in order for you to make the numbers you need, right? That's how I understand that, right? It's not just, you're expendable and you're an expendable nobody. I never saw myself that way. Maybe a lot of y'all see yourselves that way. I don't know. All right, at any rate, the next thing I wanted to talk about, man, was the great Maya Moore. Over the weekend, a couple of players from the WNBA were inducted into the Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame. Among them were Sue Bird, the great Sue Bird, who did damage over there with the Seattle Storm. Probably the greatest point guard. I'm saying safe to say the greatest point guard of that franchise, and possibly a top 3 to 5 point guard in the WNBA history. Sue Bird, champion, played alongside Drew Lloyds and others, and built a winner there, in Seattle. And then you had Maya Moore, who I listened to her speech, man. One of the best speeches I've heard, for an inductee in the Naismith. Maya Moore. She's very articulate, very beautiful, just a very stand-up, man, human being, But what I want to talk about is, her status in basketball. It's unbelievable to me what she was able to accomplish. We're talking about, I believe she played about 7 years. Let me check this out to make sure, so that way, I ain't out here just, just talking crazy falsities or anything like that. So Maya Moore is 36 years old now. That's crazy. Courtney Vandersloot's age, or a year younger than Courtney Vandersloot. So she really could still be playing. If you look at her story, it reminds you, man, of like a Barry Sanders who just left, left early, man. Listen, I did have the pleasure of watching her play when she played, because like what I would do, I wasn't like a big all into the WNBA. I was going through, my male, I guess you want to call it chauvinism stage or whatever, where, that shit's women's basketball beyond me, lower the rim, so they can dunk it. It's just, a bunch of women I'm not attracted to watching. But, Maya Moore actually is kind of cute, and could play. So, but what I watched was the championships. I would watch the finals. I'll be honest with you, I didn't follow every game like I do now. I was watching the finals. And even then, I was like, damn, she's the best I've seen since Cynthia Cooper, in terms of just skills. I like Swin Cash as well, who was up there on the stage with Maya Moore. I found that, that was nice. I liked her as well. But for me, let me get to it here. Okay. So, you got Maya Moore, who is all-time, her average all-time numbers, 18 and a half points a night, about 6 rebounds and 3 assists. All right, played 2 guard. It says she played 9 years. Okay, according to this here. Before any of you go into the stats or whatever, well, it's not like it's 30 a night or anything like that. You gotta understand, people didn't play, back then WNBA that way. But these are excellent numbers, all right? Because for a career, she was 45% from the field, okay? That 18 and a half was on 45% from the field shooting, okay? Very important. From 3, she was 38%, 38.4, nearly 40% from 3. All right. Her true shooting average is 52%. Okay. We talk about her accolades. She's a 2014 MVP, 3-time All-Star MVP, 2014 scoring champion, Rookie of the Year, 2 times All-Defensive Team, 6-time All-Star, 4-time WNBA champion, 2018 Steals champion, All-Rookie team, obviously, 7-time All-WNBA, 7-time All-WNBA, 2013 Finals MVP, just a monster. Eye test, watching her play, eye test tells me she's the best women's player I've seen. Okay, just eye test, just watching what she could do out there, how she plays, just on both ends, the effort, the whole nine. Okay. Now, what I'll say though is this: I'll say she's the best guard of the WNBA, because there's going to be, of course, arguments for A'ja Wilson and so on. So A'ja Wilson is not finished playing, right? But what I will say is the argument may come down to is A'ja Wilson has 2 titles. Okay. Now A'ja Wilson's numbers, scoring, and all of that is the stuff that's just crazy. A'ja Wilson's accolades in terms of like her defensive player of the year and a lot of that though. But what I will say is, oftentimes I know, at least latter days, is more difficult for a guard to win defensive player of the year than it is for a center, for someone, you know, that's out there dominating the boards, that's blocking shots and all those types of things, you know. And A'ja, of course, power forward, but you know, a big, it's easier for bigs, I think, to win them. So I'm very much impressed with Maya Moore making the defensive teams. So that lets you know she could play defense. But this is the thing, like even her versus say oh my God, Cheryl Swoops, for example. If you went just accolades, it would give off the impression that Cheryl Swoops was a better player than Maya Moore. Until you turn on the film. You turn on the film and you watch them play. And you know what I mean? Now, the other thing about Maya Moore that I find most fascinating is what she produces. Her children. Okay? And that's what I mean. And when I say children, I mean stylistic children. Spiritually and stylistically. Right? And it appears to me, and I got to look up more, but it appears to me that Maya Moore is like giving birth, along with, Kobe and so on, those who are watching the men. She's giving birth to the guards of this generation. Many of them. Those who straight up said it. The Minnesota Lynx fans, of course. Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, okay, to name a few. These 2, many are proclaiming will probably be the future faces of the guards. Now, I think there'll be others. Once Juju gets here, I believe Flau'jae Johnson has a chance to also be included in that. Kalia Copper, I'm interested. I want to look to see if she ever mentioned Maya Moore as an inspiration. I don't know. But I'm curious to see about that. I want to look that up. What influence did Maya Moore have on like Jewel Lloyd? Oh, I know Jewel Lloyd kind of played against her at some point, I believe, right? But the different guards and the way they play. Maya Moore kind of reminds me of the influence that maybe Julius Erving had, on guards. Right, and I argue this all the time with people. To get on Julius Erving, because Julius Erving, he doesn't put guys like LeBron in his 5, or even Michael Jordan in his 5. And a lot of it has to do with, y'all don't understand. You see, Doc played against Michael Jordan, okay, when Jordan was a rookie, and in his second year, I think Doc might have retired Michael Jordan's 3rd year, 87, okay? And I remember, a lot of y'all might not, okay? I was in about 5th grade or something like that, right? When Doc, I was probably 3rd grade or 4th grade when Doc retired. But whatever the case may be, I remember Doc playing against Jordan, and Michael Jordan never performed well against Doc. Okay, there was actually situations where Jordan, Doc was blocking his shots, all types of things, right? And Jordan mentioned it in a book of his autobiography. He said that there was just one player he just couldn't, muster the competitiveness that he normally has against. He said it was Dr. J. It was just because that was his idol. He grew up watching, and it was just like he was nervous. Doc had him nervous when he played against him. All right. So, and Doc even, said before stuff that people attacked him about. He's saying, he said about Mike. He said Mike was he's a smaller version of myself. People don't like that, but you gotta understand, he looking at it from the standpoint of an athlete out there playing against him. You know what I mean? And seeing that, like, Mike took what Doc did well, and I believe when Mike took it to the next level, he started adding some other things to it. But in the beginning of his game, when he first came to the league, and he was mostly getting to the rim and dunking on people, he was another version of Julius Erving. Julius Erving, for example, he birthed Michael Jordan. Because Jordan watched him, imitated him, and became who he was. He birthed Clyde Drexler. He birthed Dominique Wilkins, Larry Nance. He birthed Scottie Pippen. Actually said that was the guy he grew up watching. He birthed I literally can go on. So many players. You know what I mean? And then, of course, the Jordan birthed players. You know what I mean? And so on. But Doc, and to me, Maya Moore is similar in that way. I think she birthed the modern WNBA guard. Paige Beckers is the one that actually plays like Maya, if you notice, stylistically. Whereas Caitlin Clark, I don't see her playing like Maya, but Caitlin Clark is like the biggest Maya Moore fan, like, out there. The way she just glowingly talks about her, that's my goat, she's number one, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So I think that's what needs to be mentioned about Maya Moore. Same with Angel Wilson. Angel Wilson's is birthing a lot of players too. Angel Reese, I don't really see it that much. And also, who else? Kiki Iriafen, I think. I see the Leah Edwards, the different players. But I also wonder, and I'm being real, if you look at Asia, it's kind of birthed from Candace, Parker in a way. But I think Asia is the upgrade. You know what I mean? You had Candace, you had Asia. I think Asia is like the upgrade, But I see a lot of similarities even with their games. Asia just more of the, the monster, plays hard, like more intimidating, I think, than Candace was. Candace is more skilled, or not even gonna say more skilled, but Candace, that was her thing, she was skilled and so on. Whereas Asia is intimidating, skilled, and that sort of thing. Plays stronger, right? When you look at Maya Moore's career, I'm looking at her different awards. She was always in the MVP race. She's always either second, maybe third, 8. But the one thing that's impressive to me, 8 years, 4 titles. 4 titles. That's the thing. With Angel Wilson, she's in her 8th season. 2 titles. But the accolades are retarded. 3 MVPs. She might win another one this year. Of course, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. What, she got 3 of those or 2 of those? It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable accolades-wise. Maya Moore, amazing. The other thing I want to get into is just briefly, man, what happened with the LA Sparks. LA Sparks, man, put out a hell of an effort last night against Phoenix Mercury. Phoenix Mercury didn't need the game, but they made it hard. Sparks were able to go out there and get that win. I could go on and talk about them as well, but for what? It looks like they've been eliminated from the playoffs because the Seattle Storm went out there and took care of Valkyrie, where the Sparks lost their way. And I would still say they had a really good year. The fact that they were even in running for the playoffs spells good if they can keep most of that core together. I don't know what they're going to do with Hamby, Azare, and so on, because I know Brink has to be brought into that. They're going to become a much better defensive team once Cameron Brink is a starter. Cameron Brink is an amazing, impactful player. Some of y'all might see it, some don't. I don't know. I'm listening to different people talk. I don't think people are seeing what I'm seeing. But what I noticed is, even in the game yesterday, Phoenix gets about an 8-point lead. Okay, we're somewhere in the second quarter. Brink is interjected into the game. Immediately, the Sparks go on a run because they're able to get stops. Sparks get within one. Okay, Coach takes Brink out. Okay, puts in Hamby or Azare. I like both of them, but you got to understand the impact. Okay, I think she realizes though in the second half, I got to get Brink more minutes, and really they ended up winning the game. You know, Brink is blocking shots. See, when you have a shot blocker, not only is it we just counting blocks. No, we're looking at the fact that the intimidation, it changes the way the opponent plays. The opponent is not going to drive as much now when Brink is in there. When Brink is out there, and when Brink is out, it's barbecue chicken. So you're talking about there's 5 ways to score in basketball. Okay, when you take away one, especially the most efficient one, which is getting to the lane because of a shot blocker, that impact is like, I mean, it's immeasurable in my opinion. Okay, and Brink really was doing that for them. All right, but looks like, it was a little too much too late, man. I'm crazy enough to say I believe that if Brink played all year, I think they made the playoffs. I really do. I think she was that. I think Cameron Brink is that impactful a player. So right now, all right, so since the Sparks been eliminated, I'm assuming that it must be the 8 that are established. All right, so Lynx, Aces, Dream, see on some boards I'm seeing the Aces as 2, and some I'm seeing the Dream as 2. I don't know which one that is. Okay, so you got Lynx, Aces, Dream, Mercury, Liberty, Fever, Valkyries, and Storm. So it looks like the how would this work? So the Fever would play who? The Dream? Is that how that works? Or the Aces? I don't know. Not sure how all that works right now. Okay, I see a bracket. Okay, let's check this out. All right, so the playoffs looks like it works this way. On one end of the bracket, you got Minnesota versus Seattle Storm. That's gonna be crazy. Then we got the Phoenix Mercury and the New York Liberty. Wow. I don't know. Someone really good that I want to see go far is going to be eliminated early. You got the Atlanta Dream and the Indiana Fever. I like the Dream in that. And then you got the Aces versus the Valkyrie. Wow, that's gonna be hellified playoffs. Hellified playoffs, man. All right, so next video when I do, we're gonna talk about I'm gonna do a deep dive on each one of these series, and we'll talk about who should win what. Wow, that's what's up. So I'll get with y'all later, man. Peace out.